I think I've hit all the buttons, turned all the dials, knobbed all the knobs, put the volume up, put the chill down, and we're ready to go. We'll be joined in a few minutes by Sociological Ali, who will be my guest today. We're going to be talking about a large portion of issues related to Israel, Palestine, and the discourse surrounding it. And wouldn't you know, lo and behold, like a gift from the heavens, crazy shit has been going on at Columbia University around this topic. And we're going to have to talk about it because this directly relates to how people deal with both this topic, the discourse surrounding this topic, and just Israel and Palestine in general. This is a problem, and it's been a problem for quite some time now, and it's very hard to actually have a conversation about it, as you probably noticed from the conversations you've seen attempted on my streams. It goes crazy fast, but I'm trying a new segment today, gang. Brand new. Called Cooler Heads, where I have, hopefully, a one-on-one reasonable discussion with someone who is on the other side of the issue. Someone who is not a crazy, okay? I know you guys like the crazies for content. You guys like to go in and watch people blow up and yell and scream. And look, that's fun. But I want to do something a little more productive, perhaps. Not to guarantee that this will be productive at all, but we'll see how it goes. Gang, please, if you like this stuff, if you like this stream, if you like what's going on, if you like what I do, if you like the concepts, if you like the guests, if you like the topics, if you like the time I put into this, now's the time to like, subscribe, all that jazz, okay? It all helps. It all supports the channel. It all boosts the stream. This is all very good. Red talks about stuff. Welcome. Hi. You've been watching a bunch of stuff on this. What kind of stuff has been said? I'm very curious. I too have seen some of the discourse, some of the back and forth. It's wild. We're gonna talk a little bit about it once a little more people get in here. I know I'm live a little early, so I'm gonna give everyone a chance to kind of sneak on in while we wait for my guest. Let me DM him, see where he's at. We're about 5 minutes earlier than I normally do. Crazy, huh? Give me a second, please, ladies and gentlemen. Boom. Is my audio fine, by the way? I hope it is. Okay, jump backstage whenever you are ready, sir. Yeah, just like the news videos and stuff. I'm trying to avoid the crazy shit people are saying. Well, that's wise, but it's unavoidable. And I think that it is unavoidable because of the videos and stuff like that. There are two kind of competing narratives going on right now that are both wild narratives, in my opinion. One is that there's no anti-Semitism at these protests. They're only pro-Palestine and anti-Israel. There's no anti-Semitism, no Jew hate. Nothing bad ever happens at these protests. They're all nice, kind, kumbaya, and they play a ukulele around the fire and do no harm. That's obviously untrue. That's just obviously untrue. We can see this again and again and again from the people who are blocking entrance to professors who work at the campus who happen to be Jewish, right? And we can see it from the person who literally stabbed someone in the eye with a Palestinian flag, okay? These are, I don't know what else to call this, right? It's a problem. So we have that going on. So that's one narrative, okay? The other narrative that I think is a little less wild, but still not true, right? Still just not true. That on campus that there's these woke SS Nazis going around rounding up Jews, throwing them in classrooms and like putting them up against the wall, and no one is ever safe on these campuses, right? They will be hunted down and put in camps and things like that. That's overselling it, gang. That's just not happening. That does not, right, mean that there is no anti-Semitism at these protests. There obviously is, as I just outlined. There's obviously violence at these protests, and that needs to be shut down. That needs to be stopped immediately. People need to come in, the security, police, whatever, and anyone found doing violence, right, needs to be locked up and face consequences, okay? Depend on, again, it's a spectrum. If the violence you do is little consequences. If you do a lot of violence, you get a lot of consequences, right? I think that is eminently reasonable. However, let's not decide to call for mass arrests of protesters or the National Guard to come in. The last time the National Guard went in to try to break up a protest, I don't know if you all remember how that ended, but it ended with bodies, okay? It's probably not a good idea. We don't need to throw the baby out with the bathwater. We don't need to silence free speech simply because a lot of the speech makes us uncomfortable or is even hateful, right? We do need to police behavior, but I think we can both protect the rights of pro-Palestinian protesters to speak their mind, as well as keep Jewish students and other people safe on Columbia's campus. But we're going to get into it. We're going to go over it. We're going to talk about it. But first, let's get my guest. We'll bring him in, and we'll have a wonderful discussion. Welcome to the show. Ollie, how are you, sir? Can you hear me?
What's up, brother? How you doing?
Oh, you know what? It's been a day. It's been a day. I've been watching a lot of the reactions to the protests on Columbia and things like that. I guess first and foremost, I'll just ask, what are your thoughts on this? What's your opinion on all the stuff that's going down?
All right, so okay, what is it? They made one of those like what zones like they had during what was it back in the day? They had that autonomous zone during the BLM riots, was
Oh,
it?
the Chaz Autonomous Zone? I don't think this is
Yeah.
quite like that, but fair. Go on. Okay.
But it's somewhat of a zone, right? They didn't want Jews in there.
Okay.
Was
So
my assumption. I know that the professor walked up and the dude said, "No, you can." The COO said, "No, you can't come here." And he's like, "What? I should be able to walk wherever the fuck I want." To which I was like, "Yeah, you should be able to walk wherever you want." But I feel like the COO was only preventing him from getting in because he's like, "Yo, fam, I can't protect you from whatever happens in there." And this is like, are you trying to be a martyr at this point? Like, do you want to walk in and like cause commotion? And it's like, should he have been able to walk in? I mean,
look, if
yes. Should he have walked in? Probably not.
so there's a lot here. Okay, so yes, that is a thing that has happened, but I think it extends beyond that. So we can do one of
Yeah.
two things. We could talk about this specific incident first, or we can zoom out, broad brush it, and then zoom into it again. So what do you want to start? You want to start specific and move broad brush, or do you want to
Yeah.
start broad brush and go specific?
Let's be in and move out.
Okay, let's be in and move out. Let's talk about what happened when, what was this individual's name? He's a Jewish professor at the
Hmm.
university. His name escapes me at the moment, but a Jewish professor at the university wanted to go onto campus. He has been making videos about these protests for several days now. He attempted to get onto campus, and campus staff told him not to go, right? That it was too dangerous. They couldn't ensure his safety, and he should not go into that area. Now, there's a few things that we need to talk about
What up?
here. Um, First of all, there are certain areas you just shouldn't go if it's not safe, right? Like I wouldn't go into the middle of a war zone, right? But at the same time, what does this imply? That the campus is a war zone, that Jews specifically are under threat in this place. And that is a problem, right?
Yeah.
You can see how
Yeah.
that's a problem.
I can see that. Yeah. Okay, so if you want me to be fair, I know this is like a stretch a bit, but this to me was so likened to Kyle Rittenhouse. I was like, man just wants to go
Carl
to the
Rittenhouse,
center.
but go ahead.
Yeah, man just wants to go to the center of the problem and just stand there, right? So he's gonna go to the middle of where these hostile students are, whether or not they should or shouldn't be hostile. Obviously, they shouldn't be hostile. They shouldn't be violent. We can just get that out of the way immediately. There should be never be a reason for a group of people to be violent towards one specific individual, much less the group of individuals, especially at a school. But these people are, to an extent, they made a fucking autonomous zone. There's tents. They're staying there. They're trying to prove a super point. Now, this man is also trying to prove a point. He's gonna go to the middle of this thing. What happens if he gets attacked? Then he he kills someone or he attacks someone, and it's self-defense, right? Or what happens if he gets attacked and he loses his life? Now he's a martyr for the cause. Now there's a whole like, oh my god, look what these kids are doing. And so in my mind, it's like, why are you trying to force yourself into a situation that clearly you do not need to be a part of right now, and could severely negatively impact your life?
Well, I think that's kind of the point. So there's this thing about civil disobedience and protest, right? Which I find noble. If you are going to break a law, if you are going to protest in such a way and be civilly disobedient, which again, breaking the law, trespassing, etc., setting somewhere else that you'll be arrested. Part of the deal is, right, when you do that, is that you want to face consequences, right? That's part of the protest. You face a consequence, and so everyone publicly can see someone dragging you out. Like, so this worked very well during the civil rights era. Black individuals would go into diners where they weren't allowed. They would purposely stay there and make them, like, cops would have to come in and physically drag them out. And people saw this and saw people just sitting at a diner, right? And watching them being dragged and beat up and all this violence that is done to them, right? So you have to kind of be accepting of the consequences when you do these things. And one of those things is you put yourself in a position that you know that there will be consequences. And I think, again, I'm not a mind reader. I don't know this guy, but I would suspect that was the point, that he was wanting to go in here, watch, and simply just exist, and then watch what happens to a Jew who disagrees with them, like an Israeli, a Zionist, whatever you want to call them, right, that goes into this area and how they're treated. That was kind of the point. I think that's commendable in a way, and I think that they should have allowed that to happen. Now, that said, right, I don't... Look, there's so much. I was saying this before you came on the show, but there's two competing narratives that are going out right now, especially around the Columbia protests. So the first narrative, and these are both bullshit narratives, to be clear, right? They're wildly exaggerated, no truth to them.
Yeah.
The first one is that there's absolutely no anti-Semitism going on against these protests. No Jews are ever harmed. They're all super safe, right? Everyone's just kind and polite, and it's all good, and everyone's okay. That's obviously not true. We saw this dude get stabbed in the eye with a Palestinian flag, right? I don't know if you heard about that. Like, there's obviously violence going on. They're obviously harassing Jewish students. It's obviously a problem. Okay. That said, there's a second competing narrative that's going on, right? Which is also just wildly untrue. That there are these woke SS Nazi stormtrooper protesters going around rounding up Jews, putting them in classroom camps, right? Destroying and killing any Jew that they happen to see.
Yeah. Anyone in their warpath.
Yeah, it's neither of these things are true, but these are what's driving the narrative. And I think that's kind of what you wanted to come on to talk about initially, right? Because you initially invited me to talk with you before the Columbia stuff popped off.
Yeah.
But tell me more about that. Can you tell the audience who you are, why you wanted to talk about to me, and then we'll just kind of go from there. Go ahead.
All right. So my name is Ali, but I go by Sociologic on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube. So why I wanted to talk to you specifically was, honestly, I saw the girl make that post about you saying that you shut down voices and you're such a Zionist racist human being. And I was like, yeah, you know what? I don't necessarily think that. We disagree. we disagree, but I disagree with a bunch of people that I've gotten into this space with, and y- disagreeing with you guys has honestly been way more enlightening than being in the echo chambers that I'm used to being in. And so what I wanted to get on here was one, show the people that you do allow people, to have voices. I am not getting paid by Progressive Victory, by the way, just so we're clear. I would if I could, but I'm not. But yeah, I'm not paid. I'm not like, there isn't a thing, but I do like your platform. I do like what you've been doing, and I want to come on here and show people that you will let voices come on here. Omar, God bless him. I love Omar, right? He's a great guy. But he goes off the rail as he should. He's passionate about the subject. I understand that. But you had a panel going. It wasn't a one-on-one interview, and now I'm gonna get to talk your ear off. So
Oh, absolutely, and we can kind of get into it. And I think that these are the only ways we're going to actually get anywhere with this, not just on an individual level, but just as a culture and as groups and as even nations. If
yeah,
we can't sit down and have a conversation about about our disagreements without going into these unhelpful narratives that we spoke of earlier, I don't know what's going to happen, but it won't be good. And this is one of the reasons I accepted it, is because a lot of people, and I think this is my fault, to be clear, this is on me. A lot of people think I am much more pro-Israel than I am, simply because of the way I've engaged with this topic. Um, I have been disappointed with people, especially on the left, who have failed to, in my opinion, call out real anti Semitism and call out real hatred of Jewish people, not just Zionists, right?
yeah,
And I think it's kind of infected, to use a word, right? A movement that it otherwise is fine. I have
yeah,
I mean, if you think that a Zionist is someone who thinks Israel should exist, I guess I'm a Zionist. But I don't know. It's one of those things where, like, I feel like if I don't chant death to Israel, then no matter what I say, no matter what
yeah,
criticisms I may have of the IDF, of Zionism, or of Israel, it just won't be enough for some people. And that's a problem. And yeah, I wanted to kind of have someone on that I trusted not to be crazy, if that makes sense.
yeah.
But go ahead.
So I think people didn't understand the visceral reaction of what happened. Right? Everyone took October the 7th, and they're like, "Oh my God!" And now we have this starting point. We see people cheering in the streets, and we have no idea what the fuck's going on. We have people cheering on the paragliders, which we have no idea what the fuck's going on. We have civilians. We have all this information, and now everyone's just kind of forced to pick a side. Unfortunately, for a lot of Americans, right, they have no connection to this issue. Like, really, most people don't. They're Americans. This doesn't affect them in any day to day. They're kind of just going through their lives. For a lot of Arab Americans or Muslim Americans, we have families that are in these regions. We understand what's been going on, and unfortunately, like, we have a side because of that, right? And so, for example, when those attacks happened, it was in my mind, I see the people reacting, and I'm like, okay, they're cheering. Why are they cheering? Because something happened. Now we're gonna get to see what goes forward. There was an action caused, right? And for everyone, they're thinking like, well, look at this attack. Instantly, it became Muslims and Arabs were forced to condemn the attacks, condemn Hamas. Do you condemn what's happening? Are you a pro-terrorist? Everyone's a pro-terrorist if they're pro-Palestine. From the river to the sea is blah 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 blah. It's not like that for us. It's just that, like, we sit down every day and we hear about these like little small things that are happening. This kid dies, this person dies, this group of people are getting moved out of their house. We see the guy from Brooklyn comes and takes over the person's house, and these things are all building up. And we just don't know what to do. We don't know what to do. We see something, we react hyper emotionally, right? Because we're like, this is action. It might not be good action, but we have been dealing with shit for so long, right? Finally, something, and now the conversation can be had. Sure, we eventually got to the point where everyone easily condemned Hamas. They're like, yeah, yeah, terrorists, whatever. It became a moot point because it didn't matter, because then it was like, you know what? They're terrorists. We can just look at Israel and say, well, they've been doing terrorist acts in our eyes, right? And now we got to like equate it. And it just seems that the conversation was really, really tough because we have to condemn all these things that obviously that I honestly don't think we should have had to. It should have been semi-obvious. We should have been like people should have been a little charitable with the response. But then also like you tell people that the boycotts are stupid. You tell people that the protesting is dumb. So they feel angry. They feel like they don't have a voice, right? They feel like their country is supporting what they see as a genocide to their people, right? And at the same time giving us aid, right? So we're just confused. We're like, do these people like us? Do these people not like what's going on? And so it's like always like these barbaric savages, blah 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 blah. And for me, coming from the largest Muslim populated city in America, I'm like, I don't really see much savagery, right? We have a predominantly Jewish city, right? They have a Holocaust museum, they have a whole thing. Did one individual go and kind of cause like a ruckus? Yes. But we have over 150,000 Muslim Americans in this one city. Why is this barbarian like? Where's all the barbarianism? Where's all the anti-Semitism? Now, obviously, there is some. I'm not going to deny it. But for us, it's just like we feel like people pick the worst voices, they amplify them, and then the rest of us just aren't being listened to. And so yeah, the protests get more extravagant. The chants get more wild because if we're not being listened to, if the boycotts are being we're stupid for boycotting. We're stupid for doing these for protests. We're terrorist sympathizers. I mean, at what point like do you want people to not just react to that and become the creature that you're calling them?
So this is a problem for a few reasons. I understand about the nut picking, right? Where you pick the nuttiest voice you can and tie it to the side and say, look, this represents all of them, right? But I also think it's a mistake, right? And I think that you do this to an extent, not as much an extent as others, obviously, but to an extent, is that you will downplay yes, it's a minority of voices, but it is a growing minority of voices, and it is a powerful minority of voices with a lot of influence. One of the issues I have with the pro-Palestinian side, especially the Western, I'm not talking about the people who are actually there, right? I'm not like normally they got their own issues, okay, right? They're not dealing with Twitter and things like that. But for the most part, a lot of this controversy, a lot of the things that I push back against are white people basically LARPing as pro-Palestine. They're helping the cause, right? By
Americans that have no connection.
Yeah, viciously attacking their neighbor who bought a Starbucks, right? Like,
Yeah.
And these are the things that I find disturbing. And then we have people at the Colombian protest and people taking sides over that. Look, we know that these people know how to ostracize, condemn, and do messaging control. We saw it with the 𝕾𝖎 magazine, right? They didn't like what was published there. They instantly condemned it, ostracized it, took it down. If someone at that protest told people to vote for Biden, they would be shunned immediately, right? Set to the side and told that they were being harmful to the cause. So when we see them not doing that with people who are obviously anti-Semitic, telling Jews to go back to Poland, right? And all these things, it makes me wonder, oh, okay, they're able to do it. They're able to message control, but they're choosing not to in these cases. So what am I supposed to think at that point, right?
Well, I mean, okay, so we're talking about in this protest.
I'm using this as a lens for more broader conversation because this has been repeated again and again and again in various scenarios with various twists and turns, right? But this is generally the large protest that gets a lot of media coverage. This is usually how it goes.
Yeah, so like, go back to Poland, the anti-Semitism spews. I just don't know what do we want? What do we? Okay, people are spewing shit on both sides, right? I don't want to both sides this, but I can see here.
I agree with you. If someone says Gaza should be glass, they're fucking monsters, right? And they should be condemned.
Or we're gonna go Muslim hunting. We're gonna go Muslim hunting in Dearborn. Like these things are being said. Everything is disgusting. I'm not, but like. Okay, we say it's disgusting, but then like, I don't get what the point of the question is. Are we supposed to jail these people for saying these things, or are saying what's the point of them saying these things? People say extravagant shit to get attention. There's so much clout chasing with this Israel-Palestine thing. It's been disgusting. I've seen it from my side, right? I've seen so many people all of a sudden turn activists just because they're getting, now you're getting the followers, you're getting the money, you're getting the stream donations, you're getting the dollars. And it's like, I think that's disgusting too, the virtue signaling that's happening too. Like, no one's able to have a real discussion because everyone just wants to look cool, right? It's nasty. But at the end of the day, like, unless violent actions, so like the person who stabbed the other person, jail that person, very simply, right? Should people be having riots with masks on? I don't necessarily think so. If you want to have a protest, potentially, like if you want to have these types of protests where you feel like things are going to be in high animosity, maybe no. Okay, you can have the protest, but no masks, because we need to hold people accountable for their actions. We need to hold people accountable for the things that they're saying. I have no problem with these types of things, but for words, people are just angry, man, and they're gonna say things. And once again, in their mind, I'm not minimizing it. It's horrific. It's disgusting. But the alternative is like, we're kind of like, well, yeah, these kids are, we keep seeing these kids dying, and it's like, if that's not disgusting people enough, all right, like we just feel like our side is a lot. Okay, so I came on the panel with you, Connor, Brianna Wu, and all that. And I thought it was a great conversation. And I follow Brianna, and I think she's doing amazing. I don't think she deserves all the hate or the flack that she's getting. I feel like she's getting a lot of hate. But I can recognize that through her tweets, and that she has her Jewish friends, and that she's clearly sympathetic towards that side. She has empathy towards her friends. That's completely fine, obviously. But it seems that anytime she wants to defend the Palestinian cause, it's always with a but. But then anytime she's defending the Jewish cause, it's just full-fledged. Which, once again, we know, like, clearly that's where your side lies, and that's okay, and that's not a problem. But then when people are on your case, when they're saying, hey, like, it just kind of feels like you're just kind of siding. Or like with Destiny and, Not So Aired, there was a point in time where they would be tweeting, and it was all, well, yeah, Israel does bad thing, but Palestinians are doing terrorism. It's like, oh, okay. But which side? Like, once again, if you want to flip it for our side, yes, I will completely agree. The terrorist attack, October the 7th, was fucking disgusting. It did so many negative things for the Palestinians, right? I do blame the attacks and the bombings on Hamas for doing those acts. So the 30,000 deaths are on the hands of Hamas as well, to me, as Israel, right? It doesn't have to go this far. I have no problem blaming both sides, right? Because at the end of the day, there are civilians on both sides that are just trying to live. No matter what it is, they're both just trying to live. And it's these governments, or not even these governments, it's these fucking armies that are just like duking it out. And the civilians are the ones that have to, the only people that deal with it are the civilians. Like, Hamas isn't, like, we're not getting rid of Hamas, it doesn't seem like.
So there's a lot.
There was a lot I said, my bad.
No, it's all, no, don't apologize. It's a good discussion. It's just, if my response seems disjointed, it's because I'm trying to pull on all the threads, right?
No.
So I guess to address this idea of, you feel that you are expected to condemn Hamas. I understand how, as someone who is anti all that and has been, right, since the jump. And I've seen a lot of it too, to be clear. Like, there's a lot of people I follow on Twitter that are either Palestinian, Iranian, Palestinian adjacent, right? People who are from the region, have family in the region, who've been to the region, who've lived in the region, who've reported on the region, right? Their responses, right, have just generally always been they don't like Hamas. None of them are Hamas supporters, really, right? At least not the ones I follow.
No.
That said, they found it important, especially out the jump, to verbally and vociferously condemn these attacks, because they knew, and I think that we've seen this play out, that a lot of people haven't. And in fact, that they haven't just not condemned them, they have leaned into them and chosen them as some sort of heroes to the cause, right? And we can use the obvious examples, such as like Hassan's comment on settler babies and shit like that, just the really wildest thing. And so when I understand that, again, you feel like people who are attacking people like that is an attack on you because they are ostensibly like in the same camp as you. But if I'm asking someone to condemn Hamas, it's because I'm not sure if they actually do, right?
Yeah,
it's to get actual like information, because I am not sure, because they have said things or done things which make me wonder. And I understand how when you see that on Twitter and on social media in general, because this is all public, we can all see this happening, right? And it feels like you're being questioned, but I'm not,
Yeah.
right? Does
Yeah.
that make sense?
Yeah, no, I never felt like that with you. I was just saying that we
No,
can see
we're
from the other
talking in
side.
general, right? We're talking
Yeah,
in general. Right?
with Hassan and like 𝕾𝖍𝖎𝖙 and all these fucking people. God, like I don't want to. Once again, you can't ban people off the internet, free speech and whatever. But geez, they're just grifting to their side, right? They know that their side feels disenfranchised. They know that their side feels like, you know what? You look at this once again. You can get a lot of clout by being pro-Palestinian right now, just like you can get a decent amount of clout by being anti-Palestinian. You being pro-Israel. You can.
Picking a side, yeah, it's
Yeah,
lucrative to pick a side and cheerlead for that side,
and
very
and
much.
it's and it's just like these are so like these are both obvious sides to pick, right? For the pro-Israel side, it's like the Jewish people deserve a homeland. Look what they're just trying to live in peace. Look at the barbarianism that's happening around them. And for the Palestinian side, it's like, look, these people just want to live in peace. They just want a homeland. Look, it's an easy side to pick, and the grift is insane. And so it's just like I feel like it's just disingenuous to honestly even look or talk to these people. It really was. I think for as much shit as Destiny's like been on the pro-Israel side, I honestly appreciate the fact that he does the research, right? I get that he has to be edgy with the jokes to drive the viewership and whatever, but he seems to have the conversation with people who are willing to have the conversations. He's willing to let them share their voice. He may disagree. And once again, the jokes, the whatever, once again, I appreciate that because dude's an American, right? He's not sitting here like he doesn't have to be a part of it to the extent, so he gets to have fun with it, do the research he wants, and he's picked his side, right? But he also allows other people to speak. He doesn't go on tirades. He doesn't seem to only pick out the word. He's very charitable to the other side. As you know, the clips might not show it, but I watch some of the streams. He's relatively charitable. Once again, the edgelord shit, whatever, is fine and cool, but at the end of the day, he's not as bad with the grift. But I do kind of tell.
I've
I can see why
never
people.
Yeah, I'm not here to specifically defend Destiny by any means, but I've
Yeah,
never
yeah,
seen him like call for the glassing of Gaza or something like
yeah.
that. I've never seen him
No.
call for anything crazy. Uh so one of the things is like when you mentioned something at the beginning of that about how we should just kind of ignore these people, not talk to these people. I understand that perspective, right? You gas it up by replying to it, you engagement farm, it just drives them to do more and more crazy takes. I get that argument and I'm sympathetic to it. However, I think that unfortunately, we exist in a space where people look at what you say and also what you don't say, what you condemn, and then what you stay silent on condemning. So I think it's quite important, actually, to point out voices, especially that are on your side, that
Mhm.
are saying crazy shit. Now, when I say on my side, I mean on the left
On the left,
specifically,
yeah,
not on the Palestine-Israel divide, but
yeah.
on the left, right? Because they're not on my side on the Israel-Palestine divide, but
Hmm.
they are on my side ostensibly, right? Like politically. Now, it's becoming more and more clear to me, and I think 𝕾𝖎𝖎 would echo this sentiment, that these people aren't really actually on my political side, right? And they haven't been for a while. But that said, I think it's important as also to call that out, to delineate like, hey, these are the crazies. I am against the crazy, but I'm still voting for X, Y, or Z because I think
Okay.
that's important. Does that make
So when you
sense?
say they're not really on your side, you mean they're too far left of you, or do
Um,
you think it's kind of like it's shoehorning back
So
to?
I think this is gonna get into a little bit of a
Oh,
wick theory, okay?
mhm.
But I don't think that the right and the left is as important anymore as extremism versus moderatism. And I think that's where the fight's happening on the ground. And we can see this on the right, where Trump extremism is being represented and has kind of become ascendant. And a lot of the moderates in the party have been pushed out, sidelined, ostracized. They've lost the
Mhm.
microphone. They lost their voice. They still fight every now and again. One comes out swinging
Yeah,
once in a while, but for the main
but
time,
MAGA is red right now.
yeah,
Yeah.
they've just kind of run rampant. I think that the same battle for control of the microphone is being had on the left at the moment, right? Where we are really battling with people who look, the DSA just is distancing itself, or people are calling for the DSA to distance themselves from AOC, right? Because AOC wants to vote for Biden, right? It's gotten to this point where people have decided that they are so extreme that not even AOC is left enough for them, and they're trying to grab the mic from the liberals, right? The Democrats, and get all their crazy shit said. And one of the crazy shit things that they say is that Hamas is good, actually, and they don't condemn them. And so one of the reasons I highlight that and point that out is to say, hey, don't take the mic from the moderates, because if you take the mic from the moderates on the left, these are the people who will have the mic. And I don't want that to be a representative of my political side. I don't.
Yeah. So it's like it could be like simple, right? Like, do you condemn Israel and what they've done?
Yes, I think that the IDF specifically has conducted this war in a way that is that hasn't taken care to limit civilian casualties like it should have. They have done far too many errors in targeting, such as the cooks that got killed recently, right? That's just one example of many. There's been examples of them taking out journalists and things like that. Whether this was intentional or on an accident, it doesn't matter. You can take more care. That said, I don't think that I don't think they're doing a genocide, right? I think this is more a result of not taking care to limit casualties than seeking out specifically to cause mass casualties. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I don't know if I don't know if they're seeking to cause mass casualties, right? Because like the whole genocide thing, right? The implication of genocide is that you're just trying to like kill all the people in the land, or if not, get them off your land completely, and they just no
Yeah,
longer
the
exist there,
intent
right?
would
Yeah,
that is your purpose. You want to kill or drive off as many as you can, right?
yeah, okay. And I don't want to like circle too much on this, but like I mean, technically, isn't that what the intent is? Okay, no side wants the two-state solution, right? Because why would either side want it at this point, right? They both feel like the other side's being uncharitable. They're not willing to ask for peace. So the intent of Israel is to push the people out of the land and take over the land and have the land be theirs. And if you follow our rules, sure, but like you're not gonna have voting power, and you're not gonna have this, that, and the other. So isn't I don't see where like the difference really is. I get that we don't want to call it genocide, but like
No, I see what you're saying, but there is a
and then
substantive difference, right? There is a difference between someone who may not have all the rights that they might like, right? Which is a fair thing to call out and to protest against and to be mad at and all these things. But I think
yeah,
that's far, far different than someone who is specifically rounding you up, killing you, and shipping you off. There are different
yeah,
things. They are not the same. And I think we need to be very careful about, again, this goes beyond Israel-Palestine things, because I see this in
yeah,
other areas too,
mhm,
where the extremists on both sides will try to flatten a topic or flatten a term into everything is this. Everything is genocide. The trans genocide that was happening, right?
yeah, yeah,
All these genocides, everything's a genocide, and I don't want to have to ask you 20 questions when you tell me there's a genocide going
yeah,
on. I want to know what you mean immediately. I don't want to have to ask if it's a real genocide or a Twitter genocide or whatever, right? I want to be clear. So extremists have, because it's a very effective trick, have hijacked this idea that they can flatten all the terms into one thing, and that way they sneak in all the bad in that thing by calling it this. And I think this happens both on the pro-Israel side and the pro-Palestine side. By calling everything terrorism, everything a terrorist act, it's all terrorism, gang. If they can successfully label it terrorism, it sneaks in so much. So much comes in with that term, right? Which it would be more correct to differentiate different types of acts in different ways, right? Is this resistance, right? Are they targeting IDF soldiers, IDF tanks? That's a far different cry than targeting Jewish civilians who are living in Israel. Those
yeah.
are different things. We can't conflate them, right?
So we can't conflate them, but we also don't have like words for the things we're trying to describe other than that. So like I'm Lebanese. In '06, I went to Lebanon. I am an American, born and raised, baby, USA. Went on vacation in '06. I owned a house in Lebanon that was about $168,000, right?
Hell yeah, brother.
Yeah.
Where's my
Now,
donos? Go on.
where's it? I'll tell you where your donos are and why you should be pissed as an American. So '06, we get there. I'm gonna give full chair. You know, as far as I know, I think it was Hezbollah took 3 IDF soldiers as hostages.
I remember
Right?
this. Yes.
Very bad. No, no, no. Don't do that. Then Israel went right. They kind of had a field day where I'm sitting there and I'm like, holy shit. So I'm like, I think, can't remember. I was like either 8 or 9. I can't really remember. And I was playing Counter-Strike at the LAN cafe, right? And I'm playing Counter-Strike and
Oh, they
I'm
have bombs in this game now? Oh, they have like
that-
airstrikes in this game? And
I
all
was like,
no.
whoa, this game is sick. And my uncle comes and grabs me. Oh, blah, blah, blah. What's happening? We have to flee. We run to Syria. The house I have gets bombed. I'm like, well, I bet like what? Okay. So then I get back. I'm like, holy shit. What happened? Right. I'm like a kid. Right. And mind you, like in the middle of the night, even still in the middle of the night, when we were in Beirut, when they were doing bombings around the surrounding area, my mom woke up and she's like, we have to go. And I looked at her. And as a kid, I was like, Mom, we're in the center of Beirut. There's way too many Americans. They're not gonna drop a bomb here. We're good. I understood that because I knew what they were doing. It's surrounding areas. Then I come back, right? And we're chilling. Okay. Now, I get that. It's, you know, we don't claim it as terrorism. Fine. Americans don't claim it as terrorism. But for the people, like, I'm not gonna lie, I was a little terrified. I was a little terrified. And, you know, I was only there for about, I think, a week and a half by the time I got out. Okay. And then my mom grew up in Lebanon. It's always the flights. They're flying over. They kind of try to scare. They kind of try to attack. Once again, these are two people that are at war, but the civilians are the ones that are being affected. It's kind of like when your parents are arguing and the kids are the only ones being affected by the parents arguing. So, like, my mom was there when like October the 7th was like brewing, and then she was there when it happened. She tried to flee, and she was getting sick when she was there, and like, you know, these are people that are terrified, right? So like we can't use the word terrorist because terrorist is only specific to like non-governmental militias. All right, cool, fine, whatever. Then for like Palestinian people, they're like, well, they're genociding us, they're ethnically cleansing us. And you're like, well, no, genocide has this specific meaning in this specific term. They're like, okay, cool. What about the ethnic cleansing? They're like, no, that also has this specific meaning in this specific term. And you're like, all right, cool. They're doing bad thing, and it's just that isn't what's happening. That isn't enough. And it seems that like,
I mean, there's an easy word for it.
yeah,
They're killing civilians when they shouldn't.
yeah,
Easy.
but that
Murdering
no,
civilians. That's
yeah,
bad.
but that's what happens during war,
It does.
right? And
Which is the hell of it, right? Which is the hell of it.
That's what happens during war. But then, like, I can turn around and say the flip argument. This is a 100-year war. So then the civilians that died on October the 7th were just casualties of war.
It's
a bad argument. I'm not saying it's a good argument. It's a very, very, very bad argument. But there are people that are living with, like, for the majority of Americans that are arguing. This thing did kind of happen 2 years ago at Al-Aqsa in 2022, and it did just refresh it for like on October 7th. But for people who have like the families there, for people who are like they see these things every day, like this isn't a new fresh thing. This is a prolonged war that we're seeing. I don't agree with the argument that any civilians that died are casualties of war. I don't like that. I don't think civilians should be casualties of war. I understand that they are. I'm not stupid. I'm not ignorant to the fact that this is what happens. That's why I'm not so like, oh my God, these fucking Israelis need, like, I get it. Two-state solution is realistically the only solution that we're going to be able to have. Both sides need to get the fuck over themselves, and they need to come to a fucking agreement, because once again, the only people that are being attacked are the civilians. I'm just trying to share the voice for people who are being condemned, that are being yelled at, oh, terrorists, this, blah, blah, blah. It's not as simple as that. It's just, we feel that like the other side gets babied a little bit. Yeah, a pass to do the things that we are terrified about. Now you're not terrified about. And I had this conversation with Connor, with ISIS, right? It was, oh my God, look at these terrorists. Look at these terrorists. Oh, death to America. We're so afraid. These Muslims, blah, blah, blah. There's a Muslim ban. I love being an American. I love America. I wouldn't like, obviously if I was
You
loaded
don't
and I
have to
can live in
qualify that
Hawaii.
every time, but go ahead.
Yeah. But Jesus Christ, are we fucking pussies, Doug? The terrorists, okay, as much as the ISIS was chanting death to America, the only people they were killing were Middle Eastern people. Right? And it's like I feel like we forget that because of the fear that we have, and like the terrorists, they hate us. We forget that like the people that are being attacked are the people over there, and we don't always have to deal with these types of things.
But here's the thing with that is that they've in Iran, proxies do this a lot. They've done it like hundreds of times. Like, and this happens not just in Jordan or Beirut or any of those areas. This happens all over the Middle East, right? Turkey. I remember one of my buddies who was in the armed forces, right? He was in the base in Turkey. I believe it was near Turkey. And he was just staying there for like a week or something, just kind of with the plane he was going with. And yeah, bros just attacked during the night, like 3 nights in a row. People just attacked the embassy in not the embassy, but the base. And they had mortars, grenades at the checkpoints and things like that. And this just happens. So to act as if Americans aren't being attacked or hurt over there is just wrong. Like American soldiers die, or at least are injured or attacked quite often. I
didn't mean that. I meant as like Americans.
No, I get you. But see, one of the things is that a lot of American citizens they know someone who serves, right? They know someone who served over there. They know someone who has had family over there. So when we talk about like people who have family over there, right? Like I know a lot of people who've served, right, in that area, and who are really affected. Like I know a lot of Navy boat guys, right, who've been out there patrolling while the Houthis are doing their thing, right? And the Houthis are trying to shoot them down. Like they're throwing missiles at their ships. Luckily our air defense is so good that we have a goalkeeper system on these systems, which literally keeps the missiles away from us. Works like a charm, okay? Hopefully it keeps doing that, because God forbid one of them actually hits an American ship. You want to see hatred for a group just attack the American ship and see what happens. But that said, I want to focus in on this idea. Like, I get it. It's a horror, like, and I don't mean this to sound flippant, and I hope that you don't, but it really is war, right? And this is what happens when war happens, is civilians die, and they shouldn't, and it's a tragedy every time. But every time it happens, every time there's a war, especially in the Middle East, because of the densely packed areas, as well as just how they conduct warfare over there, a lot of civilians die. When we look at that 30,000 number a lot of people use, right? Not all of them were civilians. A good portion, yes. Right. But we don't know how much. So Israel says they've killed like what, 12,000, 13,000 terrorists over there. Hamas members, militia members to be specific, and related. So you got the PIJ and other things, right? But I'm going to call them all Hamas for today. So if we accept that number, and if we accept the Hamas, the Gaza Health Industries number of 30,000, we'll just accept them both on face value. That means the ratio's like 12,000 to 18,000, which isn't a remarkable outlier ratio. It's not very different than how America conducted itself over there. And again, America didn't do enough to limit civilian casualties. I'm not saying these are good. I'm not excusing these things. I am simply explaining to you why it's a real... It's weird to me how people will see this war, this specific conflict, and treat it in a unique way than they would any other conflict in that region. Like what's happening in Syria, right? What happened in Yemen during that civil war, right? Any other of these conflicts, right? They all seem, none of them speak up about it. None of them say shit. But as soon as it's this, suddenly we got protests at Columbia University where they're blocking Jewish professors from getting in. So it does make me wonder, what is the variable that changes how they respond. And it looks to be
It's
because
Israel.
there's Jews involved.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna say it's Israel. Okay. So the other things, I'm not too like well versed on geopolitics, right? I would say the other
Sure.
problems seem internal and within themselves, right? Civil war in Yemen, it's within Yemenis. What's happening in Syria is between
Oh,
Syria
I
and
mean, everyone's
you know,
involved in Syria. We're in
yeah, yeah,
Syria,
yeah,
right? We got Russia in
yeah, yeah,
Syria. Anyway, but go on.
yeah. But with the Israel Palestine thing, right? It the only reason is honestly it's okay. It's just weird for us as once again as someone who's like willing to hear out both sides. I'm with like the two state solution. It's just I don't get how you guys don't get why we don't think this is a specific issue that's really abnormal for us. We have, and I'm sure you've heard this and this made it to you 1,000 fucking times. We're a country we're a country of people who already have our own disagreements and are fighting, right? We're attacking each other. We're killing the Sunnis, the Shias, the whatever. We're already beefing, right? Then you have the Jews who need a safe land and they need a homeland. And they want a place to call their own, and so that they can have like a state and not be fucking persecuted everywhere they go. Cool. Now you went to literally the middle of the conflicted areas, and said, "This is where we want to be safe," right? I don't know how that works. And then like so you have to go there in order to do this. You're gonna have to like fight and take land, which is fair. This is what people do. People come, they fight, they take land. I understand that. But like if you're gonna fight, come and take land, you got to understand that the people around you aren't gonna like it. And especially if you're like severely different from them, right? If we want to do like the religious war thing, it's like, yeah, you have a bunch of Jews moving in. This is Muslim land. Like we already have beef with the Christians over here. Now you're throwing in a third party and we're kind of fighting our way third. If you want to just do like, if you just want to do people, you have the Palestinians who were alive there and they were living there. And then they just look up and they see like some Europeans, some Israel, like some like Middle Eastern, and they're like, well, hold, what do you mean this is your house? Hold up, chill. This is my house. What do you mean that you moved here from Brooklyn? And it's just like it's weird. So obviously there's a specific animosity and a specific like hatred towards. Honestly I don't think it's Jewish people, because there are Jewish people who live in Lebanon, there are Christian people who live in Lebanon, there are Muslims who live in Lebanon. They all fucking hate each other, Doug, right? And they don't kill each other, you know. And there are Jews right now currently in Palestine, right? And just like there are Arabs and Muslims in Israel, right? And so why is this such a specific thing? It's because once again, it's been 100 years. We do find it weird. It's everyone keeps saying, well, look, their army's so strong and their stronghold is this, and they're like, well, yeah, that's great for America, or I don't even know. Like, I guess it's great to have like the stronghold there for America, like to have them be the ally. But then it's just like, okay, why wouldn't the people hate that? Why wouldn't the people then hate the fact that this military is so strong and they have this fucking Iron Dome? It's like, all right, cool. You're not even fighting fair, right? You came here, you're winning these wars, and you're claiming all this like strength. Like I've gotten into like arguments with like me and an Israeli guy I've talked,
Sure.
and they shit talked me, dude. We're the smartest people ever. We create computer chips. You don't do this. You don't do that. I'm like, I get it, but this is all at the like, you know, you have the defense, right? And then that's why people are like kind of get mad at America. They're like, dude, why are you even doing this? It just seems like you keep giving this country a lot of money, right? It doesn't really feel like we have like the Americans are getting this benefit. Like there was we had this panel with about Iran. And it's like, you know, I kind of imagine, I want to imagine a world. What would happen if, like, instead of Saudi and Israel, America was like pro-Palestine and pro-Iran, right? And they stopped like the Islamic regime in Iran, and they like, you know, they kind of worked that stuff up, and they were pro-Palestine. Like, what would that look like, right? Because it seems like, at least on the left, and the right, on the right, it's more just because actually everyone seems to be anti-Semitism, which I think is weird. I think the whole hating Jew thing is very strange. I wish people.
It's more
I
common
wish.
than you'd think.
I no. I get that it's more common. It's just it's very strange. But like, why do you think that? Do you feel that a lot of people are pro-Palestinian justly, or do you think that people are
What do you
like,
mean justly?
okay, so do you think that a majority of the people that are Palestinian that you've seen on the left sway, right? Because I'm seeing a lot of pro-Palestine. I'm not seeing too much pro-Israel. Not, I'm seeing a bit, but not too much. And maybe that's because of my side, even though I don't try. But anyways, do you think people are just anti-Jew, or do you think there are a lot of people that are just pro-Palestinian in this conflict, right? And they understand that the conflict is thing. And then, if so, why do you think so many Americans? It seems like
So
they're leaning that way.
it's very hard to generalize entire groups. Obviously, there's a multitude of reasons. Most of the
Hmm.
people I've seen on the left who are pro-Palestine are simply anti-American. They're America bad. So that's why they side with Russia. That's why they side with China. That's why they side with whoever they see as going against America, the Houthis, Iran, America bad, right? That is the defining feature of people like Hassan, right? And others of that ilk is whatever America does, they will oppose. So imagine a world, and take your hypothetical, where America was pro-Palestine, America was pro-Iran. These people would be the opposite of that. They would be siding with Israel. They would be siding against Iran. They would be doing whatever they think America hates. Russia and China,
Mhm.
actual national players, would also do that, right? If we stopped funding Israel today, you better believe that China would be coming up and say, hey, I heard you need some money, right? And with that money will come strings, just like our money does, believe it or not. One of the things that Biden has done, I think, successfully is limited the retaliation of Israel to Iran after Iran retaliated against Israel, tit for tat forever, right? Like, well, we won't go into that specifically who started that, right? But both responses, both the Israeli and the Iranian one, were very, very limited. And I credit at least partially Biden for being on the phone to Netanyahu for that. Would Xi Jinping being on the phone with Netanyahu and having the purse strings, would he have toned it down or pushed it up? I don't know. But I'm
Okay.
glad that Biden was the one that was able to make those calls. So yes, that is like whether anti-Semitism's a secondary thing to a lot of
Okay.
these people. It's America badism
Anti-American.
that is the
Okay,
the,
fair.
the thing.
I actually want to talk on the Biden thing because I am losing my mind. I'm losing my mind. Everyone around me is going pro-Trump. I am losing my shit because otherwise, people that would have always voted Democrat, right? Due to this fucking Israel of Palestine, we do have a lot of one topic or whatever one
One issue voters,
yeah,
yes.
one issue voters. They're dumb. Whatever. It doesn't matter. They exist. They exist. Give me an argument because I'm not a huge politics guy. I like the conversations. I like the sociology of it. What is like my argument when people are like, no, Trump would have been way harder on Israel and it would have helped the Palestinians and he would have prevented at least half of these. He would have stopped this thing 6 months ago and that's why I vote for him because he's hard on Israel. What do I tell these people?
All you have to do is point out how Trump treated the region when he was president by cutting Gaza aid to Gaza by hundreds of millions of dollars. That's
Mhm.
something he did. Moving
Uh-huh.
the capital, right? If you want more symbolic things, moving the capital or that I'm sorry, not the capital, the embassy from
Mhm.
Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, right? And all these other things. In instituting the Muslim ban, trying to institute that,
Mhm.
right? His rhetoric, he says the war needs to end and Israel needs to end the war. He doesn't mean peacefully. He means by ending it in other ways. Again, these are things that you can point to. Now, there's a lot of people who do believe that the Democrats, and Biden specifically, have to pay a cost and pay a price. But the unfortunate nature of the system we have is that that price that they're wanting to pay isn't going to be Biden's going to be fine. He's rich, right? He's not going to
Yeah.
he'll be okay, okay? Uh-huh. But the people who have to suffer under the laws, institutional backing and policies of another Trump term are going to be the one to pay that price. And
Yeah.
that's the problem, right?
So yeah, and I agree. So we have there's this problem. I've been I'm gonna be charitable to the pro-Israeli side. Okay, or at least to the right. I think we have a problem with in the same way that we made everyone condemn Hamas and condemn terrorism, we have this thing where we're doing way too much to Democrats and having them this whole like, oh, they didn't call for a ceasefire. Well, you just lost my vote. Now I'm voting for the Republican side. We can't do that. We have to understand at a certain point, this is America. Politics are deeper than our personal opinions and our personal feelings. We have allegiances that people cannot just outwardly speak against and for, and you have to read between the lines. We're going to have to start learning to read between the lines, because we can't have people coming out and condemning countries that we're aligned with, especially if they're in politics, especially if they're in government. We can't do that. These people, you have to give people a little bit of grace. You have to get a little people of grace. But also, I do want to ask, what is the problem with calling for a ceasefire? Why is that such a contentious thing for people? It seems like in the same way that condemning was bad, it seems that calling for a ceasefire bad. Why?
Well, like the day after October 7th, if you were calling for a ceasefire,
Yeah.
they hadn't really started responding yet. We might suspect how they would act, but we didn't know yet. And it really, from an optics perspective, as well as just from kind of like the ick it gives you, is like you saw this country get attacked. Hundreds of its civilians were targeted and killed, and then
Mhm.
you're asking them not to do anything about it. That's just not it's not something that's ever going to sell. They had to respond militarily. Like, if you think that Netanyahu had any choice in that matter, you were
Yeah.
wrong. It doesn't matter who, the most left-leaning guy right, could have
Mhm.
been in charge in the Knesset, right, or whatever they call it. He still would have responded militarily. It might look very different from
Yeah.
how Netanyahu chose to do so. That's fair. But
Mhm.
this call for a ceasefire is one way, right? Because the same people who are calling for a ceasefire are also chanting Hamas, make us proud, kill another soldier now, or burn Tel Aviv to the ground, right? Like they don't really want a ceasefire. They want Israel to stop fighting and let Hamas just do whatever they want. That's why it's a problem. And I understand that that's not what a lot of people who call for ceasefire are
Yeah, yeah,
asking
yeah.
for. I
We're
get that, but I'm
yeah,
not talking about those people. I'm talking
yeah,
about when I say I have a problem with people calling for a ceasefire, that's what I mean. Those are the people specifically.
yeah. So this is all optics, and it's so weird. Okay, so
Oh, it matters
would
though,
it?
right?
Yeah, would it be fair to say that it'd be although the reclaim the phrase, if you will, right? If Democrats that are or politicians were saying ceasefire, right, in regards, but and somehow explaining that they mean it just doesn't need to go this far. Obviously, like should Israel have retaliated? I wouldn't want them to retaliate, but I also didn't want the civilians in Israel to
Sure.
have been killed like that. That's fucking bad. But like now, obviously they were going to retaliate. Anyone would be stupid to think that they weren't going to. It'd be dumb for them not to. They
This
are
is one of the reasons that if you were pro-Palestine, you
yeah.
should be anti-Hamas, because Hamas knew that they were
Yeah.
going to respond, and they were banking on them responding to with overwhelming, like, and out of disproportional force.
Yeah.
Right? That was
Well,
the plan. It was baked into it. Right?
so yeah, so in my opinion, Israel is losing this PR shit, because honestly, I get that they should have
Are
protected
they?
their border more. I mean, are they? Yeah,
Well,
are they not?
they're shoring up relations with Saudi Arabia. Jordan opened its airspace so that the Americans could help shoot down drones that were being sent by Iran. Like, we talk about how it's losing the PR battle, but that's maybe in the West. But when it comes to
Mhm.
the region itself, Israel has, and this is again what many think is one of the reasons that Iran pushed for Hamas to do October 7th in the first place, is because Israel has been normalizing relations with its Muslim neighbors now, for at least not all of them, obviously, but with Saudi Arabia, Jordan, etc., for a while. And I think we are, ironically, at one of the more stable periods for conflict between those things than ever. So,
Mhm.
and Joseph
Sorry,
Stalin calling me the absolute dipshit parasite scum. Thanks for the Thanks for your feedback. I will take into consideration. Continue.
I guess yeah, I was thinking more in America, them normalizing the relations with the So I think I don't know. Do you think it's more important for them to have? Do you think it's important for them to have better PR in America, like in the West, than it is to have these like relations? You know,
I don't think so. I think it's the people who are around them directly that they need to be mostly, like, we talk about how important quote unquote American aid to it, and that was true back in the 70s and the 60s. I
hmm
don't think that's as true anymore. We talk about what Israel produces. Like, Israel is the, I think, third largest producer of chips, right? So Taiwan. One of the reasons we prop up Taiwan and we protect Taiwan is because these semiconductor chips. Like, I'm not a
hmm
tech guy, but they have these semiconductor chips that are important
they
in
make the
all the
chip.
electronics, right? They make these things.
Yeah.
And it's one of the few places that do have the setup for. Israel also does it, right? They also have that manufacturing base. So we would be wild to give that up. So they don't really, they know that they can hate us. We can hate them all we want. We're beggars at this until we get our own stuff propped up. We are begging at
So
their hands. But once,
yeah.
like Egypt, like Saudi Arabia, like Jordan, like all these other countries surrounding them, they're the ones that can make their life hell, so to speak, right? They can really put the pressure on in a real way that America just doesn't have time for. Does
So
that
you
make
kind
sense?
of just reminded me of that Nikki Haley sentiment that it's not that Israel needs America, it's that America needs Israel. You
Unironically,
heard
it is
that?
important to us. Yes.
Cool. But why is it important to us? Because we prop them up to be the thing that's important to us, right? So like we propped up these people, we set them up. Now they're producing they're one of two producers of the fucking nano chips that we need to survive with our iPhones and whatever the fuck it is, right? And somehow Americans were convinced that like I mean what that we did that. The only reason they're there is because of us. The only reason they're able to do this is because of us. So it's not that we need them. They 1000% need us. They may
Well,
not need us anymore, but is that a good thing? Is that a good thing that they're making relations with Saudi? That they're making relations with their areas? What if they stop needing us completely?
that is one of the arguments that people make about if we cut off all aid to them, all or not military spending, but any spending to them whatsoever, we will no longer have any influence, right? And I think I touched on this earlier in the conversation. One of the reasons that I'm against divestment in Israel is
Mhm.
because that will simply be invested in by our enemies who will make it worse. Like, the world, you may not like them now, you're going to hate them once China is the one in the driver's seat, right? They're not
Yeah,
going, like, look at what China's doing with the Uyghur Muslims, right? It's it's not good.
it's not good. No one fucking talks about it, which is
Well, that this is another
insanity. Yeah.
reason why it man, where were the Columbia protests then? You didn't see it. And so it just, as I said earlier, there seems to be something special about this one, but go on.
Okay. Okay. I just don't. Okay. I don't know why. Because I want to get a little. Cut me off if I need to be cut off. I think for like the skyrocket in protests. I'm not gonna. We're done with Arab Muslims. It's just gonna be like the left, whatever. All these people. I do think there's something to the whole. So if you protest in America against the Chinese, fucking nothing happens. We feel like we have no connection to the Chinese. We don't have we don't tell them what to do. We don't tell anything. We can't. The
Wait, hold
Russia.
on. If you protest or if you speak bad against China and your popular figure, you'll have to cuck out and apologize like John Cena did. Did you see that video where John
Yeah.
Cena had to apologize, right? And he made the
Or
most
LeBron
cringe.
James because the money that they make over there.
Yeah.
So if anything, we can't even speak out against this, right? The large figures that speak out against it, it negatively impacts them, right? With Russia, it doesn't. No one gives a fuck. Yeah, if you're anti-Russia, it's like obvious, right? I think it was the being anti-Russia is like it should be I think it's the baseline for like America. Like I get confused when I see pro-Russia or like communist. I'm once again I'm new to the internet, like in terms of like I was like a hippie for a while, so I stayed away, and then all of a sudden I come back and everyone's like communist. I was like, wait, what happened? I thought this was, I thought we didn't like that. So it almost doesn't seem to matter with Israel. It seems that like we have this weird allegiance with Israel. It seems like they're our little brother, you know, and our little brother is getting older, right? And so I feel like with that, and especially with like Americans' contentions with like, you know, the whole the JQing and whatever, everyone fucking loves to do it. The whole world seems to love to do it. It seems like that's why this, like when it comes to a problem with like that group, that it's so much louder and amplified, because it feels like maybe we have a better an actual connection with them, that the voice actually affects it. Like you said, without Biden saying to minimize the attacks might have been more, right? And that's important, but that also like it
Yeah,
shows
and
that like maybe
obviously
our
I
voices-
can't prove a negative, right? I can't
yeah,
say for sure what would have happened,
obviously, yeah,
but
yeah,
that is just the inferences I've made based on
yeah, that's
behaviors
fair.
and things.
That's
But
completely
anyway,
fair.
go on.
Yeah, so it's just like it seems that like that does make sense. And also, once again, in China with the Uyghurs, it's happening with like amongst the Chinese, right? Like it's happening amongst them. With this conflict, it's one of those like one country, other country, and it seems like if one country wins, the other one won't exist. I mean, they literally listen. I don't want to be, but it's literally not on the map, right? What kind of blow do you think that felt like when you wake up one day and you go to Apple Maps and it's just like the country that people come from aren't there, and then now the jokes, right? The jokes seem like it seems like European racism, right? Where it's like just like kind of posh fucking bullshit. It's like, you guys don't even have a country. It's like, all right, dog, I don't, you know?
Well, and then well, you're kind of hitting on it, right? Like these other situations are far more, at least to the American perspective, right? At least talking from the American perspective, they're more cut and dry. Like Russia, Ukraine, obviously it's obvious, okay? Which side is the good guys, which side is the bad guys, right?
Yeah,
We know. Neither side is perfect, right? Ukraine isn't perfect, but they're obviously the ones that are being aggressed upon. They're obviously the ones that are being attacked. They're obviously the ones that are in the right morally. When Israel Palestine comes up, you can make that argument for both sides. You can honestly make that argument. Palestine is being aggressed upon. They've been aggressed upon for 100 years. You had invaders
yeah,
from overseas come in and try to make their land. They took their land from them. They drove them out by force, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They've been
yeah.
fighting for hundreds of years to get their land back and the right of return.
Mhm.
Morally sound, right? You
Yeah.
could also make that same argument for Israel, right? They tried to come to the land to make a home. They were attacked viciously, and they had to fight back for their right to exist. Every 5 years or so, they got attacked by other Arab countries that wanted to wipe them off the map. They've been fighting for their existence for a while now. Every once in a while, people blow them up, right? Like they blow up school buses and things like that, and they're just simply retaliating and trying to respond to this. Again, you can make these arguments
Yeah.
in both. It's not cut and dry, and that's what makes this situation so, as you mentioned, lucrative for a lot of people who want to
Mhm.
pick teams, as well as it makes it really hard for people to get like, and people have said this flippantly, but it's really true. Like they're killing each other all the time over there.
Yeah.
It's hard to it's hard to care, and that
Yeah.
sucks. But like, oh, more people in the Middle East blowing each other up. Okay, must be a day that ends in Y.
Yeah.
And that's it's unfortunate. It's a shitty place, right? It's a shitty
Yeah.
place, but yeah.
It is unfortunate. It's just it's that's why for like the grifters that are coming in, it's like, Jesus, fuck off. It's just I do try to just try to provide a normal voice for like my side, right? Where it's like not just attacky, you can actually have a conversation, you can ask questions without like walking on eggshells, and you can have a real conversation about it. Um, but it is just a shitty situation, and that is why these people are so passionate about it, right? Is that they feel like it's like for them, for the average American, even for a lot of Arab Americans I know, they've had to check out of this completely, because you know what, they're like, obviously I'm pro-Palestinian, but me watching all these videos isn't doing anything. Me tweeting or making an Instagram post isn't doing anything. I had family members that were like pregnant at like these past few months, and I honestly urged them. I was like, hey, listen, do me a favor. You got to just avoid this, because you having a voice on the matter is not beneficial, right? You're only hurting yourself. You're only stressing yourself out. You have these things. You have real life that you have to be concerned with, which is like your day-to-day American life. That's me. That's me.
Oh,
I
okay.
bet.
I was like, oh no.
I got someone cooking downstairs like an idiot. Um, and so it is super, like, it's a privilege as an American to be able to check out, right? It is a privilege, and I don't think Americans should check out. Obviously, if it's too much for you, check out if you can.
Sure.
But for the ones who are okay with having these conversations, I think we need to start trying to amplify these voices more. I think I like the Hassan needs to be done. Hassan, I've been done with Hassan for a while. It needs to be done. But also, like, voices like you, people, platforms like you, where people can come on and actually have like conversations where I can say things without being fucking chastised at everything I say. And same thing for you too,
Yeah.
um these are uber fucking important, right? Because like with the boycotting thing, let me just talk about the boycotting because it really pisses me off. Boycotts are pointless, right? That's what people say. I understand what people mean when they say that. Obviously, your tax dollars are already going to whatever they're going to. Obviously, we have conglomerates that own most of these companies, so realistically, an actual boycott is very difficult. However, for individuals, though, as an individual, if they see that their money they do not want to spend their money at this thing that they learned about in their mind, that's the point of the boycott. I don't think the point of the boycott is shutting down Kellogg's or shutting down Starbucks, right? It's just giving people the opportunity to feel like they have a voice, to feel like they can have an action in something that they otherwise feel actionless
But
against.
but that's how it's manifested, right? That's how it's manifested. Is it's not people making a private decision to not purchase things where they feel that their money is going to go to the causes they do not support. Totally fine with that. I don't think anyone has a problem with that. What
Yeah.
happens is you'll see someone post a picture with them with their Starbucks or their McDonald's, right? Right.
Yeah.
Even though I have no fucking idea how McDonald's is doing that, but that's neither here
Yeah.
nor there, right? So you'll see this online, and then you'll see people just being vicious towards. I thought you supported Palestine. How dare you get a latte?
Yeah.
You're just a genocide supporter, and you love killing babies. And you're like,
The girl running up to
whoa,
Hassan. The girl running up to Hassan
yeah,
saying, "Oh,
that
but
was
if you
the
pour it off, if you pour it off camera, which was like she hit something there. Even if you pour it off camera, just don't show that you're supporting. Show that your solidarity, right?
yeah,
Because
it's
at the
yeah, and that's a problem though. I don't think that's good. So one of the look,
why?
because what it does is it reinforces these secondary sanctions, right? And so when I talk about secondary sanctions, I'm not talking about sanctioning Israel, right? Like when I talk about sanctioning directly, the direct sanction would be something like I think these people contribute to Israel and I don't want to contribute to Israel, so I'm not going to do that. What a secondary sanction is I see these people or I see these companies support Israel. I'm not going to do that. And I'm not going to interact or have anything to do with anyone who does. That's a
Oh,
secondary section. It's not someone sanctioning someone directly. It's someone sanctioning also the indirect participators. And I think that's a problem just in politics in general, right? It's
yeah.
a lot of people, it leads to like policing where you have people looking through what tweets you liked and then like,
Hmm.
well, did you see that this person liked a
Yeah.
tweet by this problematic figure? And you're
Now
like,
so everyone's a racist or everyone's a Zionist or everyone's an ism right
yep,
a fucking way. I actually had this situation happen. We I just got a food truck I'm working on, so I've been working with food trucks through the summer, like last summer, and
cool.
we're in a city. We walk into the mall. My buddy gets a Starbucks cup, right? And a Starbucks drink, and we walk out. And now the girl that we're working with is wearing a shirt that says legalize being black. All right, so you already know that this person is an activist and a warrior, right? So he's walking in with a Starbucks cup. Me and him are friends, right? He's Arab. We're chilling. She goes, "How dare you drink the Starbucks cup?" I was like, and he started arguing with her. And they argued for like an hour and they got fucking nowhere. He looked at me, he's like, "I can't believe it." Tried to explain to this girl the tax dollars and the boycott. And I was like, "Yo, fam, what are you doing having a conversation with this person?" What the shirt she was wearing was saying, legalize being black. That person is not, she's not gonna understand the nuances of what you're trying to say. She's not gonna sit here and understand that your $5 isn't the No one's gonna understand. So some people, man, you just gotta you can't talk to them. You gotta let them chirp, and then you walk away, and then hopefully they don't chirp anymore.
Well, here's it. I'm of two minds. I agree with you. I agree
Yeah.
that there are some people waste of time, right? Waste of time. You're never going to convince them. You're never going to be able to get through to them, at least not now. But
Yeah.
at the same time, that at least not now is important. What you can do, and I've seen this happen and through my life, I'm a little older than most in this space, right? Is something that someone said 20 years ago to me suddenly hits, right? And it's because those seeds are planted and they take a long time to grow. That, oh, I get it now. And that takes water and sunshine and all these other outside factors, but the seed is still important. So that's one aspect. The other aspect that I think it's important, and one of the things I disagree with you on, because I think it's leading to the extremism, is, as you said, there's a lot of reasonable people who have removed themselves from the discussion because they're like, this is crazy, right? This is not good for my mental health. This is just it feels like I'm taking crazy pills. They've removed themselves from their discussion. But unfortunately, the side effect of that is that the only people left talking about it, and the only people that people hear, are the crazies, the literal crazy people with like 5 mental illnesses who hate their life, hate their job, hate their wife, hate their kids, but somehow they know, right, what's best for America, right, and what'll lead to human flourishing. And you're like, okay, but I understand why people do it, right? And so it's really hard on an individual level to say, hey, you shouldn't remove yourself if you're feeling like you can't take it anymore, or you feel everyone's crazy around you. But at the same time, I would be remiss not to point out that doing so does enable these voices that are the extremist voices on both sides to just go crazy. So,
Okay. So then, I was gonna say. So then, I guess the answer for me would be that we need more platforms and voices that allow normal conversation to be had, right? Like, so, like, you're trying out a new segment, Cooler Heads. I think that's great. I think you should encourage people that that are also within this space to continue to do that. I personally don't know too many people. I want to start. I've talked to Connor about starting an actual like anti-red pill, anti-blue pill, just fucking normal dude like program.
normal America, right?
Yeah, just normal dude, just normal dude, normal man, right? Like, because I do think men need a space. And fuck, look, all we have are the crazies, right? We have the hyper left and the hyper progressives, which are just like, don't ever look at a woman, and then you have the red pill, which is like, you gotta women are objects.
So,
These are the only two people being listened to.
𝕵𝖎𝖎, for this is for you. I don't know if you can read what he's saying, but he's saying any Arab who speaks to WhickTV is talking to a genocide denier racist and is a traitor, Ali. I hope he sees this, and you're a traitor to your own people, Ali. That's what you get to deal with, right? And on my
Yeah.
side, let me tell you about some tweets I was responding to when I made what I thought pretty cold take. Hey, shut down the violence that's being done at these protests, but people should have the right to say what they believe in, even if what they say is dumb or retarded. I got called a Hamas supporter. I said that I got called anti-Semitic. I said that I'm promoting hate towards Jews.
Yeah.
This is a problem. You got crazies, and 𝕵𝖎𝖎, I hope you hear this. You're fucking mentally ill and probably should seek therapy, right? It's a problem, and we gotta call them out on both sides. We gotta hit the extremists and rhetorically and say, you don't speak for me, you don't represent me, you don't represent the movement, get the fuck out. And we show them the door.
Yeah, this idea that just because someone is against your side, immediately they, like, once again, I'm pro-Palestine. Wick is not like pro-Israel, but like, he's not pro-Palestine, right? He's nuanced, and actually, I don't even know where you like really stand. Obviously, you have your sympathies
I
towards
think
both sides.
Israel should have a right to exist, but I think Palestine also has a right to exist. And
No.
really, honestly, I just kind of want them to stop fucking killing each other.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it. Now, how to get there, I don't know. Like, we've been trying to do this for a while, right? Nothing seems to work. I don't know how to get there, but I know that the solution cannot be the destruction of either Palestine or Israel. That's a horror, and I don't want either. And yeah.
Super hot take. But yeah, no, this idea that
You
we
say
can't
that, but
have
like people have
no,
literally argued with me for
no,
hours about how that's actually a pro-Israeli position. And I'm like,
very much
okay,
so. Well, because
okay.
Israel existing is a
Yeah.
pro-Israeli position. So right now, people that are watching me are, well, look at this Arab who is anti. It's like kiss my ass. The idea that we can't have conversations with people from the other side is literally how extremism is like formed, right? You can't just sit in an echo chamber of people telling you you're right. These people hate you. They hate you, therefore you should hate them. They hate you. You fight hate with hate. You do it with violence. These people want to hurt you. You hurt them. It's not how this fucking works. We're not gonna get anywhere by doing that. By just consistently flipping sides. And like that's why I say this with the whole like voting for presidency. Do I think Biden's the greatest president on earth? No. But I'm probably going to continue to vote Democrat. I prefer liberal social policies, right? I want these things to be instated. I don't want laws against humans and against like things like that. These are the values I vote for, right? I can't sit and vote on foreign policy. I can't sit and vote because this person has a differing opinion than me when like the laws are what the fuck I'm focused on, right? And I can't sit and vote for the guy who had a Muslim ban just because he says, you know, he wants to stop the war. That's not how that works in my mind. And for everyone doing that, the only reason you're so quick to turn it off is exactly for this point, which is like, oh, someone disagrees with you, they're a racist. Oh my god, they're a Zionist. Oh my god, they're a Nazi. Oh my god, they're it's like, dog, just have the conversation, stop losing your brain. And if you're not mature enough or intelligent enough to be able to have a conversation with someone who disagrees with you, then get the fuck out of the conversation.
You know, I agree with you 100%, but that's not how it's manifested, unfortunately. And we have to find a way to get back. So, here's my theory. We're going to talk more Wick theory again. Okay, this is just a hypothesis. It's a working theory I have that at some point in the 2000s, 2010s, right, that era, we decided to, as social media was born and internet discussion was born, as media became more and more a thing, what happened is we decided, because we wanted the enemy to lose, we armed our crazies. We gave them weapons, a platform, and a megaphone, and said, go out there and fight the fight, right? We are arming our crazies. We're weaponizing our crazies. We're going to send them against you. So you deal with them, okay? And this turned into them getting influence, which they have used in order to get a bigger and bigger seat at the table, right? A more important seat at the table. So not only are they being weaponized now, they are calling the shots in a lot of ways. A lot of these institutions are run by extremists in a very real way. And they exercise outsized power. I think that this has been detrimental to getting things done in America and foreign policy wise. And we need to figure out a way to turn the clock back, to take away not only the weapons that we gave them, the microphone, right? But also to take away their influence. I think they should be able to say whatever they'd like, but I don't want them to have outsized influence. But we have, again, weaponized each other's crazies, and it's working, unfortunately, on both sides, because the extremists are getting what they want. The left, the super left and the super right, both want America to fail. They just both want America to fail. They want it to fail. They want it to crumble. They want it to be in crisis so that they can take advantage of that crisis and climb to the top and secure more power. It's a power move, right? Chaos is a ladder, and they want chaos. They want to climb that ladder as much as they can in order to get more and more power and to siphon off more and more resources for their pet causes. And sometimes it's just because it's just a power move, right? They don't have a cause. They just want power. But it's a real problem. And again, it sucks because I don't have a specific solution. I can only have general kind of guides, like, don't listen to these people. Don't let them speak for you. If they start saying crazy shit, disavow them immediately and kick them out. That's what I think.
Um, so with all these ideologies going around, like I said, I'm just finding out like tankies is a thing. Like I don't even know what that is yet, right? Um, so you're saying chaos is a ladder to like for power to power.
That's what they think, right? There's this idea that when things are turbulent, when times are tough, it creates opportunity where you can grab and seize, right? Like if power absorbs a vacuum. So if suddenly we didn't have, or an institution was feckless and needed to be dismantled, something would have to be built in that place, and that something would come with new leadership, new influencers, etc.
You think okay, so like because the way I see it, it's like listening to like libertarians or these communists talk. We're not gonna have communism in America. I don't see it happening like that. I think there's enough sane Americans, rational Americans that were like, hey, we're like they just want to work, own a house, own a car, have a family, do their day-to-day bullshit, right? I don't think we're gonna crash anywhere. For the people that are following the ideology, do you think that they realize that if this country crashed, that their influencer isn't going to be the leader? Or do you think that like if, for example, people like Hassan, do you think Hassan followers believe that if the country crashes, that then Hassan will take lead? Or do you think that there are politicians that they follow that they will support? Because like what because right now I think Hassan is like a don't vote person. I'm assuming.
I'm not actually sure,
I think
but
I've heard. Yeah.
I don't watch much Hassan, believe
Yeah.
it or not. So again, it's hard to generalize because there's more takes than there are stars in the sky. But again, I see themes, and one of the themes I see is there are people who want as much chaos as possible without collapsing to kind of gain power within their isolated movement. Much like a cult, they want to isolate. They want you to convince you that everything around you is crumbling, and the only stability and safety that you have is within these four walls of this stream, right? And so you must be here. Nowhere else is safe. Only I can lead you into the promised land and into the bright future of tomorrow. Listen to me, brothers and sisters. It's like a cult. They self-isolate. So there is that. There are also people who, again, a smaller group of people, but they have outsized influence, who really do want to see things go tits up because they feel that they personally will benefit from it, and they really believe that. They say, I will benefit from this. My ideology will benefit from this. I think we can do it. Now, again, is this reality? No. If I thought that a communist revolution, like if you told me today that every communist in America was going to rise up, I would laugh at you because I've seen how these people act on Twitter. They are scared to look at people in the eye, right? They can't even handle a phone call without having anxiety. I don't think they would. I don't feel threatened by it, to be clear, right? So I don't think that's anywhere near a real fear that people have. However, what can do real damage is the perception that these people create in order to garner influence within their quote-unquote movements. There are real people in these movements, and they're really being taken advantage of, and they're really being hurt, and it's sad.
Yeah. So I've seen that a lot with like the red pill movement, right? Where I think you had I think you had a discussion about like the left and like why men it's over there. Why young boys seem to be going towards the right and why women seem to be going towards the left. And I think no one really touched on it too much, but it's because it seems like the right is offering something tangible to guys, right? So like with the red pill extremism, which is like, bang 40 hoes, get a Bugatti, get a fucking sell NFTs, whatever that is. At the end of it, it's something that like I think relates to like most guys, which is their underlying baseline. They want a house, they want a car, they want a family. And so they hear this ideology, right? They're like, if I shoot for the stars, I'll at least land on the moon. And so that's what I think there's a problem. I think there's a bunch of people who feel disenfranchised. I feel like for the on the left, it's the men that feel disenfranchised. Like they feel like they're being left behind, right? Because we had such a pro-woman movement for X amount of time. And like this movement has left dudes feeling like, oh shit, no one really cares for me. And then here we go, here come these guys that come up and they're like, we're here for you. We're here for you. So like I think it is that these people come into power But I think it's just like the money and the influence that they want. We essentially have mini kings on the internet, kings and queens of the internet.
The
If you
feudal
really want to
system,
think about
yeah.
it, you know, we have churches. People are paying their tithes and super chats and donos and subscriptions and
Speaking
so
of
on and
which,
so
if you
forth.
want to worship at the Church of Wick, please, WhickTV. If you want this kind of content, if you like this kind of content, even if you love to hate this kind of content, okay? I put in the work every day, getting you great guests, getting you great topics. Feel free to donate, gift subs, super chat. All helps. Even just liking and subscribing to the stream. Really important. Anyway, sorry about that. Continue.
No. So even with these, even with these people pushing these ideologies that honestly they might not even believe in, right? People can push communism, socialism all day. At the end of the day, you go to work, you get a paycheck, you buy things, you live a pretty capitalist life. It's pretty hard to avoid it, right? It's pretty hard to avoid it. So I think the power isn't even that they want the system to crumble, is that they don't even care what the system is. They themselves feel like they've built little communities and little kingdoms. And as long as we act like this, I'm already in charge. Like, because I feel like most people don't feel like politics affects them in their day-to-day life, right? Trump was president for 4 years. It didn't really do much to me as an individual person. I
Yep.
had the same job. I had to pay bills. I had to whatever. Biden was president. Same shit, right? I can argue about the economy all day. I don't really attribute it to what the president did. So it doesn't even matter. It doesn't even affect me. Why do I have to vote anymore? I can support my influencer, and they're providing me with the ideology I need, and they're providing me with the laws that I'm going to follow in the way that I should act, and yeah, so on and so forth. They're the new prophets.
No, you're that is that tracks. That tracks. I don't think that you said anything. I think that's really indefensible. I wanted to touch, and I know this isn't the topic at hand, but you said it, and I want to touch on it. Men going to the right, quote unquote, and women going left.
Yeah.
That's not quite what's happening. What's happening is young men specifically are pretty much the same they were 20 years ago politically, right? Young men are generally left-leaning. It's true.
Yeah.
What has happened has been a specific phenomenon to women where they have gone spiked into leftism, right? So it's not so much that the men are going one way and women are going the other. Men are kind of same place they're always been at, right? And women are just taking the ball and running, right? And we could talk about why another day, right? There's all these theories. I don't know specifically. I got my hypotheses, right? But they have decided to just go. And it's not just American women. We could see this in South Korea and other countries, right? Like for whatever reason, they've decided to become super extreme. So when you frame it as the right's going I'm sorry. When you frame it as men are going one way, women are going the other, I just don't agree. And I think it also relates to people with Israel and Palestine, right? A lot of people can see people being less and less supportive of Israel. And I don't know if that's quite what's happening. What I think is what's happening is you're seeing much more loud voices in opposition. Whereas people in general, the normals, they think about Israel the same thing they thought 20 years ago, okay? The same thing they thought 20 years about that. Opinions haven't much changed. But you've had this very vocal group take the ball and just zoom down the field into hating Israel, right? And the left and the right have carried that ball together. And yeah, it's a problem. I know you might not think it's a problem, but I see it as a problem. So.
Oh no, the just hating Israel. I have no problem with that. I mean, I can see that as a problem. I get why you can see that as a problem this time. No, I do see more support. I don't think the same person 20 years ago has the same thoughts as they did today. I'm gonna do this with racism and my mom, right? My mom is an immigrant. It's not that she was racist, it's that she didn't care, right? She's like, people, shit just kind of happens to people. You know, you grew up here, you did this happened because it would happen to us, right? Because my mom barely speaks English. So in her mind, it's like, yeah, I mean, you probably did something wrong. Then, fucking X amount of years, 30 years into this country, George Floyd happens. And then my mom comes to me. She goes, Ali, I can't believe this is what's happening. I didn't know. I didn't know this was happening. I can't believe it. I was wrong about all of these things. right? And I think that's what's happened like today. I think, yeah, like, some person's walking around, Israel, Palestine, I don't fucking care. Who cares? But then you have this influx of, fuck adult civilians. It's kids, right? So many kids, and it hurts. I had to stop watching because it hurts me too, right? There are so many kids being hurt, so many kids being, and we're getting images and videos and messages and all telegrams going crazy and TikToks going crazy. And I think more people are seeing certain things, and they may not be anti-Israel, right? I may not have convinced people to be anti-Israel, and I don't think anyone should be convinced to be anti-Israel, but I do see a lot more pro-Palestine, right? Maybe pro both. Maybe they're like, hey, two state. Whereas people before were like, who fucking cares? Let them deal with it. Now they're like, no, two state. Maybe both these people deserve to have their land. I think people's perspectives have switched. I don't want it to be anti-Israel, but
No,
I do think
yeah,
more
it's very
pro-Palestinian sentiment
possible
has been
that
rising.
you have the right read on this, right? That you are because again we can point to polls which seem to bear that out, but from my personal experience and talking to people day to day, right? The people I've talked to for years, the people in my family, right? My friends, the real life friends I've had. I don't. Again, they all just because this like kids dying isn't new in this region. It's I don't know if you remember the second Intifada where school buses would get blown up and things like that, and the retaliation would also kill kids, right? Like, so again, it's not new on either side where children are dying. I do think that there has been a concerted effort by specific voices to really amplify it this time around.
Well, we just have a lot of young people nowadays that we didn't have during that time, right? We have TikTok, we have 18-year-olds, 16-year-olds, we have fucking 9-year-olds that are politically engaged nowadays, right? You have 9-year-olds that are sharing ideologies and talking.
You know what
these
the
things,
real
right?
war crime is? That I'm at risk of seeing a 9-year-old opinion on the Israel-Palestine conflict at any point
But
from
they
any
do.
side.
I
A
hate bringing up,
9-year-old, dude? Like, no,
dude.
keep them off. Just no, ban
They
9-year-olds
should
from the
be off.
internet.
But we're seeing more and more and more that these young kids that like we never had this influx of 14-year-olds having 120,000 followers. We haven't seen this before. This is all new. So like, whereas 10 years ago, maybe you wouldn't have people talking about it as much or opinions changing. So like day to day, maybe an older person doesn't feel like things are changing, but these young kids, I think like, I forget sometimes that I'm not like, like I'm not a fucking high schooler, and these fucking high schoolers they're completely different humans. Last time I was in high school was 15 years ago. So it's like,
I don't know
the
about that.
change.
I think
You
that
don't.
like the youth, like look, the youth have already always been extreme. Nazism, if you remember, was a
Yeah.
youth movement. It was led
Mhm.
by youth, and if one of the unfortunate parallels, right, if that people have drawn, and it's a correct parallel to draw, unfortunately, is back in Vienna before it really went down in Nazi Germany. You had Nazi youth blocking Jewish people from the Vienna College, from these people blocking the entrances and things like that. And people have, I think, astutely pointed out some of the connections here. And it look, there is no.
The guy
Okay,
was
I'll
allowed
be
to
a
go to
little.
his
I'll be a little
classroom, okay?
spicy. I'll be a little spicy. I'll be a little spicy. The worst thing to ever happen to Palestine has been the Western pro-Palestine movement. It is not doing you any favors. It is making you guys look so bad. And you don't deserve it because these people aren't connected to you. They just they're bored college kids who want to moralize about something and feel like they're on the right side of history. Okay? That's what they are.
Oh, I don't know if they're making us look that bad, man. I think this is honestly kind of normal. I think it's honestly kind of normal. The violence, I'm once again condemning, not against.
Sure.
I think the college kids going crazy, like when we went into Iraq, did we not have a bunch of like heavy protests, right? Any big war that we feel like we don't want to be involved in, that we don't want to like deal with, the college kids and the young ones seem to riot and protest and do these things to the extreme. Is it making us look bad? I like kind of.
Did those work?
What, the protests? No.
To the anti-war? In fact, a lot of them were used as evidence that, oh, hey, we need to really kind of double down on this And I think that's what's happening. Like, someone made this flippant comment on Twitter, which was, I think, meant to be in jest, but I'm wondering how much truth there is to it. Recently in the Trump-Biden matchup, Trump was pretty far ahead, still is, but Biden's numbers have been spiking lately, and it coincides with the extreme left attacking Biden. I think the fact that you have these weird ass kids, right, these extreme left attacking Biden, is making him more popular with the American public because everyone hates those damn fucking kids, okay? And honestly, there are a lot of people whose only politics are, I fucking hate those kids, and I don't want to see any. I don't want to see them have any joy.
They're voting against the
yes,
kids.
Yes, that's what they're doing. I think that, like, it's meant in jest, and I'm being a little hyperbolic, but come on, like, there's a connection here, or at least a correlation, and we have to at least look into this, okay?
Oh, and then if anything, you'd want the protests to keep going, right? You'd want these people to continue on, at least for your side.
That's the idea. Conspiracy theory, right? And this is something I've heard on both sides, where actually these protests are being led by Zionists in secret in order to make the Palestinians look bad, right? This is a crazy conspiracy theory I've actually heard from people. I think it's funny because I don't think that, like, people aren't that deep, gang. If you've ever worked in the government or worked in the military or worked in anything, the idea that they are competent enough to do something so sneaky and no one find out about it is wild.
Isn't that the whole argument with, like, BLM and Antifa, right? It was like, actually, the Antifa people are actually doing okay. Oh, man. Okay, so, like, you don't think people can get together and do that? I mean, they're organizing these protests, they're organizing these sit-ins, this is a pretty big. There were people walking around with stickers. There were people
I honestly think they just really believe. I think they're true believers, unfortunately, that they again, it's America bad. They hate America. They see America supporting Israel, and they want to destroy Israel because of that. That's it.
Okay, so obviously there's the extreme. For the people that just feel disenfranchised on the left, for that are Democrats, that do you think that they should be not fucking pander to like people, that we should be more charitable, that the Democrats should try to show more charitability towards these people that feel that feel like they're not being listened to, that feel like Biden isn't supporting them, right? Do we need the Democrats to sit here and show some love to the Palestinians in the same way that we're okay? Because I keep hearing anti-Semitism from from your people.
Sure.
The anti-Semitism is bad. The anti-Semitism, and I agree. But then also, I kind of feel like it's not Islamophobia, but there's like no one fucking cares about the Arabs or the Muslims. They're like, right? And so it's like I feel like Democrats could gain a little bit of popularity by being like, hey, listen, we are sympathetic to this side. However, this is just.
So this is, again, there's layers to this, and it's lots of threads. So I'll try to be brief, but bear with me. So the problem with that is when we have done that, when people like AOC have come out and condemned it, right, specifically, she still gets yelled at by the side, right, the crazies, because she didn't use the specific word phrase that they wanted her to, right? She's condemned it, she's voted against it, she's done all these things, but because she didn't do it in the way that they felt proper and right, they have come after her and called her a genocide. So at a certain point, you have to wonder, like, well, we're not gaining anything from this.
Is there anything you can say other than completely glass Israel?
Yeah. So we're not gaining anything from this. So at the same time, like, why should we put any effort into appealing to you if you're not going to, like, if there's nothing I can say or do to convince you, why? Okay, I'll look for the convincible. I'll look for the persuadable.
The idea is to, like, wrangle in the normies and, like, let the crazies.
And
like,
this is the thing. This is the thing that the right has done so effectively. Is it because it works? You take the crazies, you point them out, and then you galvanize people against the crazies to vote for you. One of the things that Biden has done that I think is effective is he points out the crazy that is happening on his own side, and he won the primary because of that, right? He pointed out the crazy. Now, I know there's some Republicans in my audience who'll be like, no, Biden's crazy too. Biden's just a secret leftist. Look, Biden's a fucking normie Democrat in a lot of ways, okay? Yeah, he's more to the left than Amy Klobuchar might have been, but he's by no means a Bernie or an Elizabeth Warren. Come on. And he has people around him that are more left than him, certainly, but it is what it is, right? Like, he's pretty center leftish in how he's behaved for the most part, and that's good. So when we talk about like having sympathy towards the Palestinian side, absolutely, I think we can, but we can't do that without also pointing out the crazies that are supporting.
Yeah, you can't just pander to
Yeah.
people. Okay, so then one more thing for the Trump thing, and then I gotta wrap it up and for me.
Sure.
So what about the argument that Trump is essentially, because Biden's a super leftist, right? Trump is essentially just a '90s Democrat. He's just an old school Democrat, right? He loved the gays, right? He's just a '90s Democrat. Why? Well, the left has gone too far left. There is no more right, right? And then Trump is just the center. What's your argument there?
So I grew up in the 90s. I remember Bill Clinton, right? And him being the kind of like centrist Democrat, the triangulation strategy, right? Which was to take issues the country felt passionate about that were center-right-ish issues and then simply adopt them in order to gain power and get the vote and do what we can. That strategy worked, but that's not what Trump is doing, okay? Trump is doing something where he is not taking center-right issues that everyone feels comfortable with and adopting them as his own and using that as his platform. What he has done is he has decided to go the populism route and say, look at people like Hillary Clinton, look at people like anyone who speaks out against him, basically. They're all the deep state, secretly coming after you. They're going to destroy you. Then he tried to overturn an election, right? And I know people in my audience are going to be mad about that, but he absolutely did try to overturn the election. He was unsuccessful, thankfully. But this is far and away from what a 90s Democrat would do. Now, are there 90s
He likes
Democrats?
the gays, though.
What about them?
There are 90s.
Look, a lot of the 90s Democrats didn't like the gays. I'm going to be real with you, right?
He was the most progressive president we've had so far, technically.
What are you talking about? No. So here's the thing. If we had a 90s Democrat, like a true 90s Democrat, I'd probably vote for him. I liked the 90s. I thought the 90s were grand. But we don't have that, unfortunately. They've all decided to choose a side. And we do have centrists still, or moderates, I should say, not centrists. And I hope that they are going to regain the halls of power. And in order for them to do so, though, you have to be involved in your local politics. You have to be involved in your party. So be involved in the Democratic Party if you're a Democrat. If you're a Republican, be involved in the Republican Party. What I advocate for you, and I'll leave you at this because I know you have to go, what I would like my audience to take away from this conversation is to recognize the dangers of extremism on all sides, to recognize how it can lead us further and further and further into destruction, literally destruction, like what's happening in Gaza right now, where men, women, and children are being killed, where the IDF isn't taking enough care to protect them. It just isn't. It isn't taking enough care to get the aid that these people so desperately need. Biden building that pier, trying to get aid to these people, you could say it's imperfect. There are problems with the implementation, fair enough, but that's a good thing to do, and we should advocate for that, right? We have to push back against the people who are saying that they don't deserve anything, they don't deserve any aid. Also, we have to push back against the people that are saying that Israel soldiers deserve to die, that their families deserve to die, that Israel should be wiped off the map, that anyone who is Jewish or Zionist, quote unquote, should be removed from all halls of power, that they're secretly controlling the world. We need to call that shit out on both sides. We have to. Otherwise, they're the ones that are going to be controlling the conversation, and it's going to be crazies arguing with crazies, and we're going to have a crazy result, and everyone's going to be so shocked that everything's so crazy right now when that's the people who've been driving the discussion. That's my closing thoughts. Do you have anything to share? Where can people find you? Where can people look you up? All that. Give your spiel. Go.
So Sociologic on Twitter, Facebook, Jesus, Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube. And closing thoughts. These conversations are important. Conversations with people that you disagree with, that you can try to find some type of middle ground on, are important. Your echo chamber does not benefit you. And to anyone who says that the other side is instantly an ism, if Wick was such a Zionist, if Wick was such a fucking, he hated all the Palestinians, he wouldn't let me come on here and say free Palestine. He wouldn't let me come on here and have the opinions and share the opinion that I have. He would have shut me up right there and then, right? But just for the future, for you people that fucking watch, when you're on a panel with people, everyone has to have the right to talk. It is not a one-on-one conversation. Unlike this was one-on-one. He let me say everything I need. I ranted a few times. I'm ranting now. All right? Get the fuck off the guy's dick. Let him have these conversations because they're very important. Wick, I think you're doing great things, man. Thank you so much for having me on.
Thank you. Check him out, gang. 𝕬𝖎𝖙𝖘𝖍𝖔𝖜. You can find him on Twitter and things like that. He's great. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.
Have a good one, man.
Well, wasn't that a good discussion? Taki on Blue just joined with their viewers at the very end of my discussion. Welcome to the show. Thanks for tuning up. Thanks for tuning in. We got some great shows coming up for you today. It's going to be amazing. Okay, this week I should say. So on tomorrow, Tuesday, we're going to have a slew of wonderful guests to talk about the recent changes to Title IX, okay? Title IX has had 4 main revisions, okay? One is about pregnant women. It's not controversial. I've seen no one have a problem with support for pregnant women on campuses and things like that. That's just a thing. There are 2 other policies. One about trans youth in sports, and one having to do with like how sexual assault is defined. These are pretty controversial. And I think perhaps most controversial is they've changed how the requirements for procedures when it comes to prosecuting in these colleges sexual assault claims. We're going to talk about it tomorrow. It's going to be great. We have some great guests coming on, so tune on in. Wednesday, we're going to be talking about WokeHammer, gang. Has Warhammer gone woke? Warhammer 40K with the Empire of Man and the orcs and all that? It recently released official lore that showed that there are female custodians. Now, if you don't know much about the Warhammer world and the Warhammer things, you may not understand why this is such a big deal. But trust me, it's a big deal. Has it sold out? Has it gone woke? We have counterpoints on. We have Admiral Gibbs on. We're going to have Majin on. We're going to have Real Radham on. And we are also going to have a brand new addition to the show. Let me figure out his name because I forget it off the top of my head. A gentleman by the name, what's his name? Of Danny Fortuna, who runs the largest Facebook group for Warhammer 40K. He's going to come and give his take as well. Gang, it's going to be great. It's going to be fun. Tune on in. We have other shows coming up in the week. Good shit. Anyone else want to sound off before I let you guys go? Who are we rating out into? Where are we going? Who is even streaming right now? Oh, wow, we are kind of early. Right? I don't even see Prime Kai up yet on the runnings. Prime just got on? You wanna go and check out Prime Kai, gang? I think it'll be fun. I think it'll be great. Gang, if you've enjoyed the show, if you've liked what you've seen, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Really helps the channel. Leave a comment if you want to fight me. If you want to say that I'm a traitor to the white race or whatever. I guess someone else was implying this earlier in chat. By all means, leave a comment. It'll be fun. Okay, let's go. Prime Kai. Let's raid out. I'll see you guys tomorrow, 6 p.m. Eastern. Be there or be square. Damn Moses-looking Messiah? What's a Messiah? Messiah? Talking about Messiah? Am I Messiah? Maybe. Talk to you guys later. Bye.